Welcome, everybody, to another episode of You Can't Make This Shit Up. That's David Washington. I'm Joel Hoxley. We're really glad to be here with you. Remember, always subscribe, like, share. That way we know what's going on. And if you disagree, let us know. David, what are we talking about?
Hey, Joel. We are talking about the big three, and we're talking about a strike. So, the UAW, United Auto Workers Union, just went on strike against the big three automakers. We're talking about Stellantis, General Motors, Ford Motor Company, and the negotiations are high, and the strike's effects will ripple throughout the nation's economy. The last time there was a significant strike against the big three, 60 odd weeks, we're talking about. The economy took a hit. So we're going to figure this out. We're going to talk it out and see what could happen if the UAW workers get the concessions that they want, and also the big three get the concessions that they want. Let's go. Here we go.
Yeah, this is. And did anybody tell the UAW that cars are not what people care for right now? It's telephones, it's iPhones, it's I'm just saying. I'm just going to go there. Okay, just
They
but
love their
no, yeah,
the
that's
Americans and others, they're loving their, electric vehicles, their EV vehicles, and it's changing the game,
yeah.
for
Well,
the big 3.
it's
And
changing the game for the big three because they're spending a whole lot more money to try to manufacture these damn cars, and there's nothing out there like to support the cars. So when you buy it, you have to plug your house in and all this. Look, this is a mess. This is a market push. This is a market push, right, from the government. This is not the market choosing these cars. This is the government saying, look, you've got to transition. Now, on their good side, they wanted to go faster, so they've moved faster on getting these cars out.
sure,
That's good. But when you look at the profits, right? You also have to look at the amount of money that's being poured into the manufacturing.
the
Uh,
monster
they're
profits, Joel,
they're
the
asking they're
monster
asking
profits.
right. I got you, but here's what your union workers building your cars want. They want a 40% increase in their pay. They
Yes,
are over 3 years. Okay, over
yes.
4 years. Excuse me. So that's 10% a year. Okay, I got you. But you also want to say, look, I work too much. 40 hours a week is just way too much. I only want to work 32 hours, but I want to be paid 40 hours. So that's what the negotiations is about. And if I'm sitting here at the top of the table, I'm looking at you like, okay, there's got to be a middle ground. But that 32-hour work week with benefits and this and that, uh, you know, I just can't fathom that you're going to use that. That you're getting 40% plus a whole day. No, that's a little much.
But, coming from a union household and also being a part of an effort to unionize the supervisors and managers at the state of Illinois during the 90s, I get contract negotiations, I get organizing, I get everything about unions. And when you look at the monster profits that the leaders of these automakers have reaped, the CEOs have reaped, and the workers are still working on contracts that have not kept up with the rate of inflation that Republicans are very quick to talk about, have not kept up with the cost of living.
Well,
And wait, and a
I'm waiting.
two-tiered pay system for some workers who have seniority, and for those new ones, there's
Mhm.
disparity, and you're creating a system where you're increasing profits, but with lower pay worker
I don't.
with that second tier. Also, what they're asking for is, better health benefits, of course, and also a defined retirement benefit instead of paid into a 401k or stock options, things like that, which are offered at this point. Um, the union leader, Fain, I think his name is Steve Fain. I'll have to look it up. But they're talking about, some parity, some fairness in this contract, and seeing the CEO pay just explode on the backs of what these workers are doing. They're just looking for some fairness, and I get it. I get it. I definitely get it. And
Well, they don't own the company. They don't
they,
run the company.
they don't own
They
the
they
company,
they they
but
have a
they
piece of
do.
the they have a
They
piece
make
of the
the
company.
company run. They do make the company run.
250 billion. I'm with you. $250 billion in increase. 30%. 30% gains. 40% for the CEOs. Yes, I understand how that looks, right? So you've had a 30% increase in profit, but you've also spent a ton in extra stuff. Once we start bringing these chips back to the United States from Taiwan and everything, we may see something different. But right now, it's not like I've never had. I don't know. This is just to me. Uh, you can't have a fair. You can't have a fair and equitable uh, uh, seat at the executive table. So the executive level, you got to take that out of consideration. They're the ones making that 30% profit with you, and you've made 6%, and inflation is what, bigger than 6%, because you've had a 6% increase.
Mhm.
So I don't see what the complaint is. The people who should be complaining are the people that aren't in unions, that have these jobs that we're pushing our children on, the teachers and stuff like this. But you know,
And that's
hey,
part of the contract negotiations also. These temporary workers, these non-union workers, bring them into the fold. And again, we're talking about profit or near profit sales, and they want their share. And the UAW president leader, Fain, is just saying, hey, you know, we've given up concessions. We made
you
our
bankrupted.
concessions.
No, no, you bankrupted. You bankrupted the.
We made our
Wait, you
concessions. We made
bankrupted
our
them.
concessions
Okay, so you
in
want
the
Obama
last
to say them again?
negotiation.
Oh,
So now
Obama,
we're
no, no.
back. Now that the contract is up for renewal for negotiation, we want to regain those concessions and keep up with the prosperity that the company has enjoyed due to the work that we, the UAW workers, have put into this.
I think we
It
look at the
makes sense.
profit. I think we look at the profit side more than we look at the loss side. Okay, the losses that these companies have undertaken is huge because of the transition from gasoline to electric power. There's a lot of money being spent that we're not looking at here, especially since some of this stuff is regulated. And then who's making there's nobody investing in these charging stations. There's not a lot of companies out there saying, "Ooh, I want to be the one who puts together the next electric gas station. I want to be the one who can figure out how to fuel a car with electricity in shorter periods of time." That's not happening. The government's not, they're subsidizing, but they're not getting that out there. So the more cars you put out there, I think that we have to look at, the fact is that these are the same individuals, the UAW are the same individuals that bankrupted our three automakers through just their pensions. And then they're worried about, 40% over 4 years. They're worried. What they should be doing is they should be voting out these inflation rate uh, politicians, these Democrats that keep pushing more and more out there to push the dollar up. So I'll back off. But it's the same people that bankrupted him, and Obama's not there to rescue him. But you do have a president that likes to print money. Maybe that's what Joey is going to do.
Okay, so there's a lot to unpack here. So let's first talk about the Build Back Better infrastructure bill. So the Build Back Better bill that was passed with bipartisan support. It's an investment in the infrastructure, in the new infrastructure of EV stations, electrical vehicle charging stations across the country, and coming up with a common universal charging system. That's just part of the investment um, into our infrastructure, sustainable infrastructure. So, in order for the big three, Stellantis, GM, and Ford, to keep up with the Teslas of the world, and the Priuses of the world, shifting from the SUVs to the electrical vehicles, is there's money in it. There's already been a commitment to that infrastructure just outside of where I live in the parking lot. The city of Orlando has made a commitment to increasing charging stations, and my management company, a property management company, increased its charging stations from 3 to, I believe, 9, if I remember correctly. I don't own the EV. I don't plan to own the EV. I plan to get into an EV. I'd rather get Ubered around, or, a ride sharing service than actually drive. But I've been in, the EVs, and, more power to them. So there is that money. There are tax dollars allocated to increasing that infrastructure, and the big three are addressing that need created by those Build Back Better dollars. In regards to the pensions, okay, you talk about bankrupting the companies because of the pensions. It's the companies who are the management who negotiate these contracts, who agreed to these pensions, to set aside the monies for these pensions, and as for a buy-in by the employee to contribute to their pensions, their 401ks, whatever. Um, During the 2008 market collapse, people lost their pensions, they lost their money. And during the Great Depression, many companies suffered, including the big three. And yes, the Obama administration and the Feds, and the rest of the American financial system had to come in and bail out these companies, bailed out the banks,
Well,
bailed out
no, they should. They
the
didn't have to bail them out. They
they
didn't
didn't
have to
have
bail them out.
to. They didn't
They
have to.
they bailed them out, but they
It
didn't
would have
have
been
to bail them out.
catastrophic. The Great Depression would have been, or the Great Recession. I'm sorry, the Great
Yeah, I was going to
Recession
say that
would have
was.
been a Great Depression. And again, we pull back on regulations, and we soften regulations on mortgage loans and things like that, to allow so much
Mhm.
money to.
Representative Frank did that, and that was under the Clinton administration. They signed it. They signed a law that made the housing market destroyed,
And
and
made
then
borrowing
you know,
incredibly easy.
yeah. Hey,
And
look,
so,
I'm not going to disagree with you, but I
but
don't want to put all of it. Yes, they negotiated these. They
they
negotiated them,
negotiate. Yes,
right?
yes,
And
and they benefit, and they did benefit from
but
it.
who put the screw to them to get them to negotiate this, right? That's something they can.
That's what collective
That's the
bargaining is
kick.
about.
That's like the kicking the can down the road. I guess these.
But Joel, if every UAW worker, or every supervisor manager sat down with GM or the state of Illinois, trying to negotiate a contract, there's going to be some inequities. There's going to be some chaos, and
I'm not trying to say that. I'm not trying to say that the UAW doesn't have I'm not talking against the union. I'm talking about the fact is what they're asking for is way too much for the common person that works hard every single day to look at somebody who gets paid way too much for the amount of work they do. Gets
But Joe,
paid
what's wrong with
paid
asking? I mean, what's wrong with coming to the negotiation table and asking for all
the
the way up here,
40 look
all the way up here,
the 40%
and
over.
knowing that you're gonna meet somewhere between the 2 offers? I
Well,
would do the
I
same
guess
thing.
I guess they're not budging because they're the ones that aren't showing up for work, right?
It's a
They're the ones that not
targeted
showing up for work,
it's a
right?
targeted strike, which I like to talk about because I think it's a brilliant strategy, but, hey, I'm gonna shoot for the moon, and if I come up short, I know that I negotiate for what I thought was in
Yeah, and I have
my
250 I have
union worker
$250,000,000 to
brothers and
sit on.
sisters' best interest, and if we get somewhere where the collective agrees, including management, more power to everyone.
Well, the 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 buzzy, what does they call it? I love the term.
Collective
Uh,
bargaining?
no, they have a term for this, they call it a buzzy benefit. The UAW is calling for the introduction of a 4-day, 32-hour work week at the same rate of pay and overtime pay for anything beyond that. So anything over 32 hours, hey, let's yeah, that's for me, that's where I look at a teacher and I look at the other people and say, yes, you know what? Invest in your home, not your car. Okay?
Mhm.
Invest in something different because this is the worst investment in the world, especially when they're barely going to be working,
Right, that's a whole day. I mean, that's a whole day, of not working. Yes. So
getting paid for
a
it.
4-day, 32-hour week. So are we saying that they get paid their hourly rate for those 4 days,
They they get
or
paid
are they
the
get
same.
paid go ahead, go ahead.
They said it says paid at the same rate. So that's making the percentage that goes up, taking that last day and pushing it over, and then making overtime the next day overtime. So that's that. You're right. It's a big lift, and you asked for the moon. I get it, but that's to me. I mean, my mind is spinning on that one.
Right,
Like
and I get that. I get
I
you.
can see the 40. I can see the 40% over 4 years. I can see a lot of this, but you're asking for a buzzy benefit. I mean, why? Because all these people in Silicon Valley don't have to work. You know, I'm sorry. This is to me. That's where I go. Okay, somebody jumped off the track somewhere along the line.
I can see your issue with that. I do. I see your issue with that, and that's a very bold step, a very bold offer by the UAW. Again, is up to the union and management to decide where they can agree on that particular part. I like the idea of a defined pension. Um, I I benefit from one.
I'm
Uh,
trying to look at David. I'm trying to look through the UAW's thing for the. I don't think they're really asking for too many changes in the pension. But no, but go ahead. I'm,
I
I'm
think
just trying to
planning
be knowledgeable with the subject for a change.
right, planning for, your future beyond, regular employment. I think that's smart, and also, of course, benefits. You want a healthy, workforce, that will be there to maximize, the profits and success of the company. So I understand why the union is making sure that they want to solidify their offers in a defined pension and also healthcare. Um, Also, I want to say I do like this idea of a targeted strike where certain factories are targeted and certain roles within those factories are targeted, whereas the vast majority of the UAW workers are still working. and earning a paycheck and earning a living, and the the big three are also, still in business
I
making
thank the
dollars.
Supreme Court for that. I do. So think they learned a lesson when they taken. We've already talked about it. You're now liable for certain things. I mean, we
Damage.
talked about we
Right, right.
talked
We
about
talked
this.
about that.
So
Right.
I would say that this targeted is a benefit of that decision, so that we're not destroying property. So
I don't think it's destroying. I don't think the targeted, strike is preventing or the destruction of property. It's just slowing down the process of manufacturing, and
right,
to identify certain manufacturing plants that will have that when there's a strike action, when there's a union action, will slow down the process or slowly shut down the process in certain areas of the manufacturing supply line. Um, I think that's smart while you keep the vast majority of people working. And it also saves resources for the union because they need to take care of their union workers when they are on strike. So,
oh, so
as
they're making them work during strike time,
they're not
so they
work,
don't have to pay the benefits.
no, that's not it.
That was a bad
That's
joke.
not it. That's not it. However,
That was
however, it does give the UAW a little bit more leverage as far as how long the strike will go and how much it would affect the economy. Back in the 80s, when the union went on strike, it did hurt the economy pretty bad. It took several $billion daily out of the national economy. So, with President Biden and former President Trump looking to visit Detroit to show their support for either side, this is significant, and this could have repercussions into the 2024 election, general election. Again, Biden has had a full-throated, wholeheartedly has found himself in the camp of the UAW workers, and this is something that has repercussions throughout the economy that we need to pay attention to.
well, I mean, the buzzy thing is all about the Obamacare, making sure people get paid health benefits if they exceed 32 hours a week, so all of a sudden companies decide to cut down to 32 hours a week for their full-time employees. So all this stuff, no matter what happens, somebody's going to move something to fix it. But I think I agree with you, David. I mean, the UAW has got every right to negotiate, um, and they can shoot for the moon. But I get to have a little fun because, well, I just don't see how these other people that work in construction and everything else and working really hard, 32 hours is, you know, they're not getting overtime after 32 hours. All this, it's just you talk about fair. How's the UAW fair when
I think we're
there are other
talking
unions that the
apples and
yeah, apples and
oranges here.
oranges. I
It's
just
apples
said
and
it. I said
oranges,
apples and oranges.
you know?
I said it. I'm not. Yeah, I'm saying I'm agreeing with you that
Right,
they have every right to do this.
right.
But I think
I don't
it's
think it's
funny
fair
that
that, some people are able to work at home from their laptops, and some people have to go into an office when they can
oh,
do
I'm
the
sorry,
same.
David.
It's just that
I didn't mean
it's
to
just
stay
the
home today.
nature of the business, you know? And UAW president is Sean Fain, Fain, and I again I from a union family, a union experience, I really like how um, they're approaching this particular situation, union action, in the targeted strike. And I'm hoping that in the last headline that I saw, that there were some agreements, but then there are others that they're far apart on. It's been
Mhm.
about a week or so with these targeted strikes, and we'll see how it plays out. However, with the recent string of union unionization. Is that the word?
Mm.
Where
Unionizing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Unionizing, with
Yeah.
Starbucks workers, Amazon workers, UPS. It was UPS, or was it the other? I think it was UPS, threatening the strike, but then that was
Hmm.
averted. Um, are unions coming back? Um, who knows? I hope they do. In the private sector, most unions are dominated, find themselves dominating the public sector.
Yeah.
Um, However, we've enjoyed some good times recently, despite the effects of the pandemic, and it's time that workers find some relief and some comfort in their salaries and benefits.
So my final word, my final word is going to kind of be a kind of reflection. After 2007, pensions no longer exist in the in that world. It is 401k. So whatever they'd be negotiating would be in the 401k world. So that's why I didn't see anything on pensions. So I just wanted to
But my understanding
make
is
sure.
they're looking at a defined
Right. But it's yeah.
plan.
It's in the 401k area. Just
Okay.
the term pension is like, oh, I wish I had pensions nowadays. You would be able to, go from the job to, retirement like we used to. But David, thank you very much for this conversation. I think it's fun to try to have this conversation and try to do it with a straight face sometimes. But
My
it,
final word.
it's
Oh, go ahead.
it's good. No, it's good. I appreciate you giving me the time to you know take the big boss's side for sure.
I know your position on unions. We've had this conversation before. I thought this was a good conversation, and maybe I mean, it's not the first time that we discuss this, and I'm sure we'll revisit this again as if this strike still, continues. But I just want to, my final word is this, and on the information in the article that we're referencing this particular podcast, it says here the union, the UAW also demanded a return of a traditional pension plan for those workers hired since 2007 instead of just the 401k plan they have now, as well
Yeah,
as
see that.
retiree healthcare coverage that those post 2007 hirees did not receive, but that more senior employees still enjoy. And there's also a demand to a return to cost of living increases and the end to forced overtime. So that's what, in including again the 32-hour work week is part of their um, package of benefits and salary requests. So there's a lot on the table there. There's some things I understand about the 32-hour week with similar compensation for a 40-hour week. The forced overtime is kind of funky,
Yeah.
but I do like the defined retirement plan, and of course, cost of living increases and the salary increases.
UAW, thank you very much for giving us a topic today. Please like, share, uh, just comment on where we stand. It's always good, and I thank you again, David.
Thank you, Joel, and thank you, everyone. Please, like Joel said, like, share, and we love to hear from you. We are your political innovators, and we enjoy what we do. Can't make this shit up. Take care.
Can't make it up.